Hey y'all, you're listening to Just Chat with Drew. Today's guest is a very talented and actually performative like mindset and performance coach, Mr. Lewis Guyman. What you don't know, he has 12 years of sales experience and he ran from, I guess, no, started door to door sales pitching and then later on went to Times Square for like 3 years. He also helps senior professionals and entrepreneurs remove burnout, stress, and overwhelming stresses to increase the work performance without really breaking themselves. He's a master at finding the balance and equilibrium of alleviating stress, but also giving you the best output of your life. Mr. Lewis, thank you so much for being on the show and talk to us like briefly. Like, what do you do and how did you start yourself?
Yeah, Drew, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on.
Of course. I
Yeah,
read briefly about your stuff. I'm like, oh dang, this is actually kind of cool. Like I need him on the episode.
a guy trying to do something. Yep, we're out here. So, how would I start? Yeah. So the brief version of me of how I started things is that I started by just being terrible at communicating and public speaking in high school and college.
Mm,
Not with people. So I've always loved people, always been into helping people, and I've always just loved people in general.
mm,
But when it came to, let's say, presenting myself or subject matter of anything in front of the classroom, I was definitely, I think you could use the word terrified. Just I was not able to speak in front of the class. I had to turn my body away. I remember this brief time where it was
mm,
like, wow. And so it was just because of the lack of skill set. Same thing in college, where I did not have good grades
mm,
for public speaking courses or anything of that nature. And um, that was tough. And I was super nervous when doing that. It wasn't until after college that I started getting into sales and then needing to have the practice on how to communicate and how to talk about a product, service, or an idea and how to
mm,
transition that to another individual, right? And how to have it make sense. So I put in a lot of work, a lot of work. And like you said, yes, it was door to door sales. So I spent about 7 years doing door to door sales, 3 of those years as running an office in Times Square. And it was just a lot of practice. And I, throughout that journey, right, since I'm giving you the short version, is that I found that I just love to train. I
mm,
love to train people. I love to impart knowledge. And I love to create systems around things. I love to create systems around execution and also training, right? And I love and sales is just incredible. It's actually embedded within everything. And real sales is when you have a specific problem that you're helping someone solve and
yeah,
you're having them understand how you should let them help you solve the problem. That's it. So that's it.
that's true.
So yeah, I can talk a lot on that. I love it. And the fact is that it's also important to be ethical. You got to be able to not just push something on someone, but be able to say, do they need this? Yes. Can you help them? Yes. Then it's going to be disservice if you can't help them. And so without over talking it too much, going throughout that entire journey was really a big, really rough but consistent tribulation as to how I'm able to express my authentic self. So we'll
Mm.
start there. Yeah.
The beautiful 10 out of 10 introduction. Like couldn't say it better myself. I really want to touch on like how you said being okay to like starting from where you are. And I guess okay, starting with like, okay, I'm bad at it right now, but with practice and repetition, I'm gradually gonna get better at this. I feel
Mhm.
like for people, I take it for me personally, like I'm definitely learning podcasting as I go, but the more I'm figuring out the details, whether it's conversation and editing for reels or things like that, I'm learning as I go different tricks and different styles and learning from other podcasters or even YouTubers for that, mind you, to
Mhm.
really learn how to bring the audience and attention and awareness to like what causes the need to be and relatability for things of that nature. I want to touch on that, like getting unstuck, because
Mhm.
sometimes I feel people just get stuck in the rut of it's like their life or career path. Like I kind of want to do this route, but I'm stuck and I don't know where to go. Or like after school, people that graduated with degrees that they personally didn't want because the parents really put that on them. Like, dude, you better be a doctor because their whole family is like doctors. Like, can you
Yeah.
help someone in that realm, like trying to get unstuck in this rut? If
Yes.
that makes sense?
Yes, absolutely it does. Since I felt it before, I
Yeah.
think all
'Cause
humans, that's a rite of passage. If you're human, if you're an adult, especially, you get hit with this whole like, am I doing this right? And
Mhm.
what's this? Am I doing this life thing right? And so there's a lot to that. But let's see, I'll give you my example. One of my examples of stuckness, right? So
Mhm.
one example could be, let's say when I started getting better at communicating, then I wanted to become great at this new thing, right? Sales, right? And that's because I have a competitive background. I have a healthy competitive background. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
So I want to show myself I could do it. And you know what? You could make money doing it also, sales. You know what? You could also help other people doing it, sales, training people.
Mhm.
Okay, you could get better. Okay. So that's one version, but we talked about that. Another version could, let's say, be towards the end of my journey within running my own sales office. So then what happened is that uh, at the end of that journey, when I was running my company, let's say during the second year, there were several parts of it that was just some really good cash, really good profit was being made during it. And then what happened is that I went on a mental decline. And even though I have several tools of how to manage other people and how to take care of other people, a lot of the time, if you just you don't have sometimes the tools to be able to do that for yourself, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's so important to have someone else. That's why you have a coach or why you have somebody else. They're able to reflect upon because you can't see everything. You can't see the water
You
that you're.
need a third perspective to really look at here's what you should fix or here's what
Yes.
you could add on to.
Yes, and like most men, we're just not used to, and this also goes the same for competitive or maybe even A-type women, right? So I've seen that all that we
Yeah.
just ask for help because we've been so used to just creating the path, forging the path, right?
Mhm.
So anyway, I had a mental decline so much on the third year of me running my company because basically I didn't know if this is what I should be doing, if this was all there was to it, right? If, okay, we're making cash, we're doing that, but what kind of impact am I creating? And the very short answer that I could give you for that is that I should have redirected my vision. I should have adapted what I was doing on a regular basis. I should have re-looked at, redetermined who I was as the identity of what I was doing during that time. Because as we grow older, right, whether that's a few weeks, whether it's a few months, a few decades, you're changing, right? And your skill sets change, your wants change, your needs change. And so we need to look at that. And what I just mentioned, that little block right there, is thousands of dollars and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars are wasted. Well, not wasted if you're calling it a lesson, right?
No, right.
On the lesson, they are drained from bank accounts because people don't look at this. And so,
Mhm.
and that's just the monetary side. So there's the time side. How much time are you spending? How many relationships are being hurt? How deep is the relationship with yourself being hurt? And that's a lot. That's a lot. So I personally missed out on over 100 grand in opportunity costs and different kinds of things going on. So the fact is that I help people now not do that, right? So
Of course.
I help them
Here's what
create,
not to do.
yeah, here's what not to do. So I help them create more time, money, and deeper relationships with other people and themselves by, like you
Mhm.
mentioned at the beginning, by being able to corner their mindset, the performance that they're doing, and be able to have them all the things I mentioned in that block, be able to pay attention to maybe the things they're not paying attention to, or to just refine it in a more optimized way. And
Mhm.
to finish answering your question for the whole burnout piece and the whole when I actually closed that company, when I closed my old sales company, and I got to that point, by the way, because when my mental state started declining, my performance started declining. What happens when the manager, what happens when the team leader, what happens with the person who's in front starts declining in your company? The entire company declines, right? If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a solopreneur, if you are declining, your numbers will decline everywhere, right? So that's what happened, right? And so after closing that, I closed that down, and what I think 29 at the time, and I had about $25,000 in debt because I had a lower understanding of money at that time as well, and just didn't know what to do, and just felt very much close to just I have failed, right? Okay, I'm a failure right now in this moment of time. So what can I do? And just not knowing what to do immediately after that. So the whole thing that happens, okay, getting stuck, right? You could be physically stuck, mentally stuck, emotionally stuck. The fact is that the pressure, the intense pressure that comes throughout the entire time usually comes from the notion of shame from external pressures, right? External validation or the need for external validation, let's say from just people around you, let's say this, like say your colleagues, it could be from family, or it could be your own expectations. So either external or internal expectations.
Right.
And if you do not have a system in place, a system of how you personally take yourself through these things, then you're just going to be, for lack of a better term, smacked around by the world. And nobody wants that.
Right. No, I understand. And you broke it down very smoothly where you have to have a system to really navigate world, or else you're gonna be just going back and forth against the current. Like I'm thinking about like how fish just navigates around the water, like they know where to go, even though it's like unfamiliar territory. At least they find like well, that's that coral reef or there's this starfish or whatever. Knowing roadmaps for yourself, like if you know what's familiar and being familiarized with something that's uncertain, you're gonna find the right path and always find your way back home. And it's better for you to really get comfortable with that uncomfortable likeness. Like you really get your feet in, get your feet wet in that mess, because now you see like where you build that self confidence of like, let's find more areas where I can improve, where find more areas where I could reach out and connect with network with people.
Hmm.
So you don't have to feel like so what's the best way I could look for it is just intimidated. I'd find
Mm.
intimidated grass. Because I think like it you have a sense of clarity.
Right,
So I just want to break down like how can someone get that sense of clarity even though they feel like they've at the ends meet, like say for a leader, like they want to lead a team, but like they personally don't feel that in themselves.
right.
How could they not only get that for themselves and lead the team better, and what things they should be clear on, like the objective and the mission forward?
The things I'm about to mention, anybody can do. I have a deep opinion that anybody can do them. It's just
Mhm.
like just take a few years. It took me about 20, 30 years and just different aspects of practicing it. That's why I could teach
Yeah.
it. So if they want it faster, I guess that's why you work with somebody. But you start asking yourself questions. So first of all, I grew up as a martial artist, right? So I've been doing that my entire life. So it's been over, I did it since I was 8 years old. What? It's been about 27 years now. So I've done different styles. And so something I haven't seen that often is being able to integrate the emotional context and the understanding mentally as to how you're able to relate those two things, dealing with opposition. Okay, maybe I'm scared now. Maybe I don't feel well. Maybe I feel ashamed for some reason, like I can't do something as well as I could. All these things that I felt physically, I have been relating those things verbally and emotionally. So when I would manage people and train people, I would understand, but not only understand, but try to um, but bridge the gap verbally as to how are they feeling? Like what are they feeling? What is their reaction to this opposition? What is this reaction to fear, right? So then
Hmm.
that's what I'm able to do now. And I love to do that. I don't see many other people doing that. So I love to bring the martial arts into it. You would ask yourself questions like, how good are you at being uncomfortable, right? And then what do you do within that discomfort? What do you do when you're comfortable? How do you lose, right? Are you used to losing? Are you a loser because you lose? What is winning to you, right? And then a lot of coaching, just in general, is having the right questions and being able to literally put you into a place of discomfort. Because just like without getting too philosophical, but like that's what all the martial arts have is that the real enemy or the real opposition is within yourself, right? And so
Hmm.
it just so happens that all the all the people who's making the success for you is just yourself, right? So so
Sure. It comes
so
back. It comes back to
yeah,
yourself.
so it's very handy if you are well versed in meeting the opposition with yourself,
Mhm.
right? And I think that that core concept is just what not a lot of people are used to, and that's one of my missions to just bring to people. And so if people keep practicing that, you know, then they're gonna have a customized method as to, hey, you know what, me, I know for them, maybe they can go get back in just like this. Maybe I need some more time. and maybe I
Yeah,
need to do X activity, right? Because I get very specific with people whom I work with, and we could get, if you want to give me an example, we could get specific with you, but
absolutely. Go
I,
ahead.
go ahead. You want to give me something? Because go ahead if you want to take you. How about you? I mean, what do you consider yourself at what level with what I just mentioned?
Like I could see myself where definitely achieve everything that I can as long as I set my mind to it and put action behind it. But I guess my one fear is just the failure in a sense. I think it's common where it's
Mhm.
like I kind of scared to fail so hard that I cannot recover. So I feel like it's common for people to really feel that way and just ignore like, okay, the failure is not the problem. It's just keep adding it and keep doing it again. So I feel like I struggle with that similarly to probably most people, but that's like a major factor for myself.
Okay. Would you mind if I ask you some questions around that, and you can share whatever you're open to share?
How to turn tables.
We'll take it as a short we'll take it as a short peek, but okay, so how much has this not able to recover from fear of failure actually gotten in your way? Have you lost X amount of dollars? Have you lost X amount of time? Like, what have you lost?
Nothing actually. And that's why I find it very hilarious. It's just a mental fear of just, oh, because I know it could happen, I rather not do it. So being like very preventive, like just don't do it in the first place. But I haven't really lost anything.
Okay, so what are you not doing?
Not taking the step forward and just doing it.
What is the step forward that you need
The
to do?
step forward is being confident that regardless whether I succeed or not, this is a choice I'm confident in. Self confidence, in the short word.
Okay, so why are you lacking confidence?
Was lacking confidence because I see with my peers or people that I look up to are very confident in how they get things forward. As simple as like martial arts, for instance. Like you have your sensei confident to teach you the skills and this set of combos. Like if the basically like taekwondo and things of that nature. You may be scared to do that, like, break even wood or chop wood or do some like 360 roundhouse kick or something, but the coach will break down every step for you and reassure you that you will always get the move and succession so that when it's like performance time to level up to a blue belt to a black belt, you're confident that you'll execute it.
So where does your confidence come from at its core?
At its core, I guess that's why I'm trying to really narrow it down with because I see self confidence in me, but the action doesn't show for it. So I see confidence from the other people, like with people I look up to or respect. I feel confidence from them to fill my
So,
glass.
so a quick note on that is just from what I asked you that before, right? Because
Hmm.
I basically asked you the same question twice.
Yeah, I
And
noticed. Yeah.
when you said it the first time, right, your answer, you first regarded to someone else, right? So when I see other people are confident, then I can actually see. So it was externally based first.
Hmm.
So when we do that, because I have experience doing that, right? So I know that it's interesting that we judge our inside by someone's outside, right? And that kind of doesn't make sense logically, right? Emotionally, it can make sense. But if we're seeing these things, right, other people being successful, even our mentors being successful in certain ways, but then we're not able to feel their struggles that got them to that point or what they're going through right now, right? So logically, logistically, it would be not that great, not that helpful to really judge something that you're trying to make hardcore decisions with your money, with your time, with your relationships, with yourself, based on what things look like based on other people. Right. So that's one note to take. Then for in terms of confidence, if the confidence is not residing within you, as in whatever that you do, right? So it should be with the new kind of relationship you want to have, the next amount of level of money you want to get to, the time that you're spending, the thing that you want to execute on, right? What you were saying before,
Yeah.
just taking a step forward. If your first answer is not from yourself because I want to this, even though
Hmm.
I know I'll be scared, then there's the work to do around that, right? So
Got you.
if right now, right, if we could put a pin on this, not even a pin, but let's say if we were to come up with one answer for you, if
Yeah.
you had to, if you had to, no matter what, right, fight for the things that are most important to you, whether it's family or whether it's your future self, whether it's your current self or what, if you had to fight and you could not depend on anybody else, what's something about yourself that you know is a strong attribute that you know you could lean on, even if you're completely alone,
Hmm. Okay, that's what you're asking me. Okay, something I could lean on
even if no one was there?
within myself, even if no one's there. Well, it may sound like simple or cliche, but just good community. It's why I feel like I'm appreciative to have because there's different types of community, whether it's gym or just school friends, games, whatever. You have that sense of community where like these are my people I could talk to and go to whenever I just want to spend the weekend with them, or if I'm feeling down, I could talk to them, or just uplift them, celebrate their birthdays. This is something that I could considerably call like home, like away from home. And why I say it, I'm very appreciative because not a lot of people could, I guess, say that or confidently have that because they have that one friend or two friend and that's all they want. But to have like a selection of like, oh, here's one, two, three friend groups I can go to, and it's best. Like if all of them like coexist and like really enjoy each other's company, then that's a good family friendship that we could have. I think for me,
So
I was gonna say like for me, I could lean on just building genuine like friendships from just interactions. I feel like
okay,
just the
that
short
is
story of it.
literally that
Yeah.
that's literally the next question I was going to ask you. So, because some people listening would say, okay, Drew's a nice guy, like he's a great host and he has friends. Okay. But no, it's the very last thing that you said. It's not that just these people are there and you could depend on them. It's you are able to create these friendships. You are able to create the community, right? If
Mm-hmm.
I plopped you up maybe in a different country, you're going to figure out how to create friendships, right? How to create these kind of depth, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I very much relate to that because I do that. I'm the person who does that also, right?
Oh, let's
And like
go.
that is a superpower, you know?
Yeah.
So if and when, right, it's possible in business, but if you're alone or if you're broke, if you're down and out, if you have your resources cut in half, like you only have a third left, like everything is gone, you're still going to have guaranteed you. And I promise you, Drew, like we could talk about it offline somewhere, but there's so many things to you, right? And this is my deep belief with whomever I speak with. It's just in humans, right? There's so many attributes to you that you can lean on that you just don't know that are strong. They might not be strong to you, but they are. But this is one prime example of how you
Yeah.
create community. If you're able to do that, you're able to create money because money comes from relationships, and you're able to create also happiness. And usually, if we're able to make ourselves happy, we make other people happy. And so that is all there. You can put that as a side note for you that if you're having this fear of failure, just know, because you said it, any kind of failure that you have is not going to take away your ability to create community and create opportunity.
That's very powerful, man. I didn't expect to be a client, but thank you so much. I can imagine your clientele are very like eye-opening when you break down the steps of like initial fear or whatever that like villain is for them, and then the superpower. So I
Right,
guess you really tie into like how their superpower can really eliminate that fear or whatever that could be for them. It
right.
it's so cool to see because everyone essentially has a superpower that they don't even know what it is or it's like untapped. So it's very nice how you broke it down that way.
I appreciate you. And one quick note about that, that's also comes from my mindset from as a martial artist mindset. Because I mean, how I grew up and how I still practice the arts now, it's we can learn
Hmm.
things, but it's not just a dance. Like it has to be practical. It has
Hmm.
to be practical. So one of my big um foundations is just whatever we're talking about. Okay, how do we apply? How do we
Right.
apply? How do we apply this into real life? This is not just a dance, not just a fancy thing. This is how do we execute in real situation. And so this is you. See, I'm getting excited for you. I
It's like the hype man for it. That's
I
really good.
I am for that, and see, and that's why I decided to do this, right? Because like that's it. That's only one piece for you, Drew. But for whoever I work with or whatever kind of, you know, whomever, you just do this for yourself. You build yourself up, you start making more money. No, it's not start, it's you will make more money. You will create
Mhm.
deeper relationships. You will create better time, right? And then let's say if this was just like a client call, we talk about what you would want to do to practically implement what you just said, right? So
Mhm.
it's not just going to stay there. Oh no, now we know this. No, it's now, even though it's scary, we're going to take what we had and how do we apply it to life to change our lives, right?
Yeah, the
So
application
that's
process.
the game. That's the game. That's the game.
So I definitely want to tag on to that. Like, how could application process, I guess, for your clients look like from whatever they like face? Have you seen your clients really change from like 1 week they were timid about, I guess, getting that new promotion, and now a month later they not only have promotion, but they have other job opportunities that really want them for like higher pay or things of that nature, and everything is like spiraling in a good way for them. It's just blessing after blessing after blessing. Because for someone
Yes.
from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, this person's like blessed, lucky. I want that growth too. Is it a mindset or is it just application plus a mindset?
Right? So that's so not you.
Mhm.
Okay, you said a lot. I could talk a lot to that.
So,
But yeah, it's just, oh man. It's right. People always use the luck thing as a crutch, right? Whether people born
yeah.
into being a little bit more wealthy or, hey man, this Drew guy, he's like really good at hosting. He's so good. Like he's so lucky, man, because like, he's good at no, man. People look at me, right? Oh, Lewis, you're so, I don't know, at least you could speak about this, or like you look
Hmm.
charismatic, or what. I've had people, compliment me. I'm like, do you know how much work it
That's
was,
what it took. Yeah.
and that's why people, that's why it's like, I have different friends like from different kinds of walks of life, right? And it's never a talent. Like it's never the talent, right? It's just the work that they put in, right?
Mhm.
Because what is the difference between talent and hard work, right? The dichotomy between the two. Anyway, I could tangent off on that. Yeah, I was about to
These have
I was about to pop off on that. Um, but from what you were just saying, see, there you go. Repeat the question one more time. That's the,
when it comes to, I got you. It's all good. We got time.
okay, good.
When it comes to applying the change, like the application process,
Okay.
when it comes to people taking like 1 week
Mm-hmm.
for like getting that job or working out,
Mm-hmm.
and then a month later they see progress from
Right.
the outside looking in,
Mm-hmm.
and they feel like, oh, that person's lucky. Drew's lucky. Is it really just the application process that they apply themselves day by day, or is it that and a growth mindset? Do you
Mm-hmm.
need the two, or can you only work with one?
Right. So you need to have a growth mindset. It needs to be your mind, like your mindset, but it needs to be also your emotional habits. Right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people, most people do what I call something called emotional flinching, right? Where they're used to feeling a certain way. And then when, let's say, like I was talking about before, when they have opposition, specifically negative opposition that happens. And what could that be? When they have certain kinds of conversations at work, when they have certain
Yeah.
kinds of, let's say, high pressure situations that go on, right? If they're underneath quota, or if they're actually having their people in management and they're a first time manager, or they've been a manager, but they keep for some reason running along to the same kind of problem. That all happens. So what do they do emotionally when that happens? What do they do mentally when that happens? And what physical traits, no traits, but physical actions do they do when those things happen, right? And so this, I have a framework, right? So in all trainings, it's important to have frameworks for training, right? For coaching, sure, when I'm applying this, but we get more customized. That's the thing, right? Like everybody, whoever has a college degree, they have a college degree, thousands of college degrees, but then how are you applying that degree,
Hmm.
right? That's the point.
And it feels kind of useless. Like I spent all this money, I'm in this much debt, and now this
Right,
piece of paper can't
right,
get me to the next step.
right.
Now I'm feeling bad by myself.
But there's still thousands, right? There's thousands who didn't have it help them and
Hmm.
thousands who did, right? And so it's the application of that. So, right, it's a mindset thing, it's an emotional thing, it's a mental thing. Well, no, physical thing. So all these three things we really touch on, and usually it starts with how people look at themselves first, once we really figure that out and how they want to express that, right, either verbally or physical. So, and then how they're feel about all those things. So we hit those three big points while working together.
That's really interesting. And I
Mhm.
guess where people feel that trigger of just like, oh no, I'm overwhelmed with things of that nature, they could understand at least these three steps could help them out, like
Mhm.
maneuver out of this sense. And
Mhm.
even when like applying the process of like, okay, now I want to see myself better 6 months from now. I could do that with these three steps.
Right. And you know what? Let's let me give a quick tip on that, right? So
Mhm.
the big super, most important thing that you could do to help you like become less overwhelmed is just being able to cut things away.
Yeah,
That's what's needed, right? What was it in Latin? What to focus means decidere, right?
yeah,
To cut off. So then you have to decide what you're focusing on, but at the same time, you have to decide what you are not focusing on, what you are cutting away. And so part of the time when I work with people, it's we are discussing what to cut away and to what degree, right? To what degree? Because you don't need to have huge swings to be like, my life is like this now, and like, holy, I was really agitated by this, but not anymore. It's not like that. Like
yeah.
it, we do it in increments, and we have well, I help create a deep level of, and this is so important, just self respect and patience for the individual. Because when they could do that for themselves, then they could do that for everyone else. And that's that.
Do you have an example of like how that I guess looks in a sense, whether it's from people you've seen, clients, or a personal story? Like, how does that look like on paper?
Sure. We can do both. Let's say a personal story, let's say for sales, right? So you're not good
Mm,
at sales, no matter what kinds of sales, by the way. So either be because I've done, sure, door-to-door sales, but I've also done sales on in through Zoom and it doesn't
Zoom.
matter, right? You can do it on
Yeah,
the phone. If you're just bad in the first place, then you have to be able to respect the fact of where you are. And sales is a very emotional game in terms of you need to have emotional regulation there, right? Because you
that's
could go ahead.
no. So I see like emotional regulation where you have to balance, like even though you said like 20 no's one time, at least
Right.
that one yes, like okay, boom, I got
Right.
it. So let's keep going,
Yeah.
and now
Yeah.
like get to I guess jittery, I guess overexcited, like oh no, I don't want to miss this out, and don't sound I guess like a desperate salesperson or something.
Right, right. So that's, let's say when you're not great and then you're starting out, okay, we need to do that. That's how you're gaining skill, right? And focus on gaining skill. And then on the other side of the coin, what happens when you're good with sales and then you just can't stop? All right. So this applies also to every business owner out there, solopreneur, or whichever have you. Like, I'm good, but then I just can't stop working. I just can't stop with the next deal, right? Oh, I don't have any other time. I can't relax, right? So
Yeah, it's like
they're
addicting.
not,
I guess.
yeah, they're not worried about, let's say, not making enough money. They're making, but now they have to have too much money, and it's this whole cycle of, I call, falling up the stairs. Like, they're making
Mm,
more money, but they're just, fumbling forward because they don't know how to relax and ease, have a customized, let's say, setup for themselves, as to respect the fact, and that's where I always come back to, respect the fact that they are here, a level that they created, and how are they enjoying that now? How are they enjoying that? Because if you have that, then you have longer lasting prosperity, longer lasting health, right? You're not as what is it? Not as much, what was it, cortisol, not as much spiked up as to, okay,
yeah,
this needs to happen, this has to happen, not as much anxiety, and you're able to let go more. People start liking you better. Your partner starts liking you even more. It's a whole chain effect. So that's an example for, let's say, sales, right? And
mm,
um, an example from another client, from, let's say, having opportunities, creating job opportunities, right? So he was, yeah, I just spoke with somebody who was a client. I just spoke with him last week. We were
snap.
we got to talk for a bit, where he was saying that since we worked with each other, it's been over a year or so ago, but having those foundational skills, right?
Mm,
He has four new opportunities now that he's choosing between, and he was, a tech consultant. So he's a tech consultant, and so he's working with this and that, and I can't really share, but
mhm.
he's working on some big projects, and he's like, it's incredible. So I get to choose between these, because I'm able to take care of myself better, but I'm also able to execute on that. Like it's not just a mindset, it's I'm able to know what to do. And he's able to customize and build on top of what we worked on. And that's the point. That's supposed to be the point. So yeah, those are two examples right
That's very powerful, man. I'm definitely excited to see like how people really take from this episode and more, I guess, your coaching,
there. Mm-hmm.
if on your website or social medias, wherever you post, like how they can really make that change for themselves and apply these things effectively. And just like you said, for your client, understand the fundamentals, the foundation. So even though you fall off, you come back right to the root of like where it all started. So
Mm-hmm.
that when you build yourself back up, it's gonna be swifter and smoother. You just eradicate distractions from you. It's very good to note. It's
Exactly.
very good to
Exactly.
note. Does that correlate with like prioritizing with what is important to you in an event of like emergency? So if, say for instance, like I'm taking family to like I guess Disney World or something, but like in a state of emergency, something happens, like accidents, and I have to prioritize. Like, do I prioritize, of course, the safety of the family, but like, how do we also get to Disneyland? Like, how do we get to the end goal? You know, how do I see Mickey Mouse at the end? Do
Yeah.
we have knockout Mickey? Do we have Mickey Mouse at home? Do we bring
Right.
to the kids, or do we do something else? Like, how can that work for someone like for a whole like practice in their life? How could that picture
Right.
out and use these same things?
So the first question you ask is what's the main goal? So the main
Yeah,
goal we're having is we're not losing Mickey. Like we're
yeah,
not
we're
cutting
not.
it out in this situation.
Thank God, he's still
It's
here.
like it's like we have this emergency. We're gonna deal with the emergency, but Disneyland. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay, so what you would do is sure you would ask that question, what's most important, right? What needs to happen? Because there's a very big discrepancy. Well, there can be a very big discrepancy as to the things that you need and the things that you want, right? So if we take enough time to reflect, we can understand that a good chunk of this can be overlapped, right? It can be like, all right, but a good chunk of the time it's not. It's you don't need to have everything done, right? So in your very specific example, you'd have to really make a decision as to, okay, does the family need Disneyland? Is the thing that we just went to, the emergency, was it that crazy that, okay, maybe we're kind of traumatized unless we kind of like hold it down? All right.
right,
But if it's not, all right, maybe it's we just dealt with this emergency. And because of the culture with our family that you created with your family, right? Just much like how corporations create a team culture, how are you
right.
dealing with these problems when they come up, right? So if the family knows, oh, this is what we do, situations, okay, da da da, da. Oh, we're good. We need like a little bit to recap. Now we're going to Disney. Then that's it. Then you're going to Disney, right?
It's actually no,
That's
that's good. That's a good. So thank you for entertaining that Disney metaphor. I just
yep.
wanted to like segue into it because people really not only like stress about the emergencies too and reacting to when things go wrong. Because like for some, okay, there's something bad happened. Let's organize it. Let's take the root to the problem and resolve it quickly. Others will take a more emotional stance and feel like who to blame first. So like, do they blame
Mhm.
themselves and how could they like emotionally recover from this or financially? And there's different routes where people take it, but from that emergency on, where I think they could see like in themselves what they could do like right in the situation. And for some people, it's different. Like some will just want to put the blame on others, want the blame on the situation, or just get it done. Like get through the situation so we can have a peaceful day, things of that nature.
That I would love to, yeah, I would love to say one, yeah, 60 seconds on that. That is a powerful point that you touched on. So let's say in corporate settings, which I have experience in terms of teams and being a part of teams, like you have people who are just, either someone's rude or someone just becomes more rude, and you have
Right,
fights in between. And that is 100% the company culture. And the company culture is enforced and shown by the example of the people who are in charge, right? Senior leadership or managers. So then if you work, if I were to work with them, then they would cascade what they learned or the reinforcement with everyone else. That's how that works. If you're a solopreneur, if you're, army of one, if you're a, whoever, if you're a person of one, then it's on you to really take into account as to ask yourself those same questions, right? What's needed, but also who do I need to be for myself and my people right now, right? Who do I need to be for me? Who do I need to be for them? Take a moment to really see that, to really understand and verbalize that for yourself. And then what you move. And then in either case, it's okay to just not be perfect at it, you know? But people get so scared, and it's part of a question you actually asked earlier. You know, you've got great questions. So that the fact the fact is that people waste so much on just failing, right? On just not being good enough. And that's a whole thing of itself. But I mean, things got a lot better when, let's say, I was in a management position, or I started learning to become in a management position, and I start forgiving myself and forgiving others for just mess ups more often, right? I
Because
started.
they're human. People will mess up like that.
Yes,
But
but people
when it
people
comes
don't
to
act like
business,
it.
you gotta like how to take it personal. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
but that's
No,
true.
yeah, exactly. People don't act like it. They don't act like people can mess up. And then when I started doing that with colleagues, right? So let's say that they were sure we were in the same level of just of hierarchy or whatnot. But then when I started forgiving them more, I said, you know what? Maybe they were kind of a jerk. And instead of, okay, it was just what can I do to make this relationship better, right? And then I came up to like, you know what, we've been arguing about this and that, let's try to not. And then I mended that, and then everybody started making more money. Oh, it just so happened the workplace started getting better, right? And so that's how it works. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what you do either in a team or for yourself, but to forgive yourself and others a little bit better. But then,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just talking about it now. That's the mindset. But how to actually apply that, I mean, that would take a lot more time to explain, but that's what you need to do.
We could definitely go deeper into that in a later episode. But as a wrap up, Lewis, um, I usually ask my guests, what is advice you want to give to listeners? Whether that's something that you've experienced or advice you give it to yourself. And the second question is, what can actually we'll start with the first question. And the second question, I got you.
Sure, sure. So for advice, what I think two things come up, right? So first one is, I guess you could say it's my tagline, right? I don't know. I think I'm gonna make it my official tagline, or something, but
Oh,
it's
trademark, cosign, done.
yeah, well, I got to that and emotional flinching. No one said that yet, so
Yes, sir.
I gotta I gotta trademark that. That
Yeah.
so inner strength leads to outer results. Right. So that's something that's really I've reminded myself of over the years. And that's just truth. That's just cold, hard truth. That's it. You may not be good at something in terms of skill set. And all because you're not good at something doesn't mean you're not good enough as a person. And so that was a pivotal thing when I was running my sales company, that I would teach newer people that they would feel so bad when we were going over the numbers, and if they felt like they did not do well, and they would focus solely on that. And I remember partially that feeling too, because I'm human too. And it's just that it's whenever we fall down, we think that it's just we are bad people in general, or I'm a bad person, I'm a bad father, bad mother, bad this and that. But you just might not be good at something, and it's okay. It just means maybe you're not skilled enough, but it never means that you're a bad person.
That's good. That's actually heartwarming because people really take that personal. Like, if I'm not good at this, then I'm automatically bad. But that doesn't make sense. It's not true. You just not a bad person. You're just working towards it, and you're human. You're okay to learn as you go, and through growing, you're gonna become much better at what you think like you're not good at, and it's totally fine. It's a growth process.
Yep, absolutely. That's it.
I think I can wrap it up there. The second question was just simple, like what was your what's your favorite movie or something? No, we wrapped it up there.
But to me, I'm down. I'm down to talk. So I mean, I'll just answer for you though. Yeah, my favorite movie is The Matrix. Undoubtedly, over any
What?
time, any movie in any existence, frame of existence,
Yeah.
that is my undisputed favorite movie. Yes.
No way. So you seen The Matrix Reloaded, like that newest version?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What was your thoughts about it? Because people have mixed reviews and said it's mid or it's pretty good.
Well, it's not part of the original. that's that's what I'm going with.
That's
That
all I
is,
go for.
it's supposed to be different, and it's supposed to. That's all. That's all. Because I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at this, the number one original. That's
What's Keanu Reeves doing?
yeah,
I gotta see what he's doing.
yeah. No, it's yeah. The latest one can be in its own thing. It's fine. It's supposed to be different, but it's not. Anyway, it's not the first one. It's not the
It's
favorite.
like, that's totally fine. That's understandable. Luis, thank you so much. Where can the people find you for more insight and coaching?
Yes, so people can check me out on my social media. I have Instagram, so it's at Louis Guaman official. It's LuisGuaman official.
Official. All right.
And besides that, for anyone who'd want to reach out, I'm open for a free call. I obviously have one-on-one coaching and also doing corporate trainings. And besides that, I'm about to launch a new men's group. So focus solely for men within the next week or two. And so that's exciting. That's me.
All right. All right. Coming soon, men's group. Thank you so much, Luis, for
Thanks
your
for
insight
having
and
me.
knowledge.
You're amazing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's see.